Hello, everybody, and welcome to the last CX Quick Tip of 2021. And of course, we're going to be closing it out with a bang because we have the CX rockstar with us, James Dodkins. James, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And okay, so we didn't have a whole lot of discussion other than the topic that we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to be just as, I'm sure, surprised and delighted as you are in watching this. So James, you wanted to talk about how to make your customer feedback surveys not suck. And we could say it's for 2021, but I would dare to say forever. How do we make them not suck? Why do you even think that customer surveys may suck?
Well, I mean, basically, because they do. There's a fairly good argument as to why people shouldn't do customer feedback surveys at all. And I know that sounds really counterintuitive. That's a conversation for another day. But the thing is, no amount of talking about that and no amount of evidence around that is going to stop people from doing customer feedback surveys. So my premise is, if you are going to do them, which you are, the least you could do is make them not suck. So my question to you is, have you ever done a customer feedback survey? I think I know the answer to this.
For me, yeah. Absolutely. And matter of fact, just for those that may not be aware, I worked for an academic for 15 years. So I was involved with the collection and the interpretation of literally millions of surveys.
Cool. Have you ever enjoyed doing a customer feedback survey?
No, but I'm a little, framed in the academic world in regards to why they have issues. So that could be part of my problem.
Possibly. The other question is, and this may be, I don't know necessarily what the answer is going to be, is have you ever had a company get in touch with you as a result of your customer feedback survey?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, well, that's good at least, because most people haven't. The thing is, most customer feedback surveys, if you imagine a Venn diagram, and there's 3 circles, you've got boring, you've got stupid, and irrelevant, right? Most people's feedback surveys sit in the middle of that. They're boring, they're stupid, and they're irrelevant. So I'm going into this with a multitude of assumptions about the people watching. One of the assumptions is that you do feedback surveys. One of the other assumptions is that they suck. Okay, that's it. They're my only assumptions. But it's like, a lot of them are so boring. It's like, can you spare 58 minutes to tell us about it? And it's just like, no, I can't. Or they're stupid, like, your flight was delayed. The company knows that's not a good thing, but then they ask you to rate the experience anyway. That's pretty stupid. Or like, there's one example where a company were asking the customers to rate how the product, and this was a mouse, like for a computer, reflected their personality on a scale of 1 to 100. It's a stupid question. And a lot of this stuff is irrelevant as well. Like, if I've not bought anything from you in 3 years, why are you sending me a feedback survey? Or if you're sending me a feedback survey about something that I've never done or something that you already know the answer to. So most feedback surveys sit in that little circle. So for me, that's why I think most customer feedback surveys suck. Not just suck, they simultaneously suck and blow.
Well, I as you were talking, I started thinking about many of the things that I ran into working for that academic, is that you would have marketing people that may have been the source of creating it. And then they're going to ask those types of questions that you were talking about, because they want to understand emotional connection. And then you have other folks that are looking at it from a transactional and interaction perspective, and they be VOC people, or they may be ops people. And so you have a lot of different people, cooks in the kitchen, essentially, so to speak. And then what happens? You have a meal that sucks.
True. And I think one of the things as well is that we think that customer feedback surveys measure the experience. But what we forget is that the feedback survey is also an experience in and of itself. And that can have a lasting impact on a customer, especially if you're looking at things like the peak end rule in customer experience, where the peak and the end of the experience is going to be most likely to be remembered. most of the time, the last part of that experience, that very last interaction from the company, is going to be that survey. And you could deliver a really nice experience, but then if you've got a really lame, boring, 58-minute long, crappy survey, it's going to change the way a customer feels about things. So I think there is such a lot of potential to make feedback surveys just not, I'm not even asking them to be good, I'm just asking them to not suck.
Well, and so I think to me, there's a lot of factors that go into the whole strategy element. And that's really what you're talking about is, being able to step back and look at your overall strategy so that the result doesn't equate to suck and blow.
Yes, because the thing is as well, we mostly do feedback surveys for us. It's never really for the customer. We try and paint it as if it is. Oh, we need help to improve this, or we need your feedback to change that. But it's not about that. A lot of the time, it's because we want a number that we can show to the board, or that we can put out there to brag against other companies. Our NPS score is more than yours, or it's a departmental thing, or there's a bonus attached to it. We very rarely are doing it for the right reasons, really the right reasons. And I know a lot of people say that they do, but if you look a little bit deeper and look at what is actually done with the data you get back, if you are doing more bragging about your results than actually improving from the results, you aren't customer centric and you're not doing it for the right reasons.
That's a really good point. Going back to that collecting millions of surveys, and what we found, like the 80-20 principle stands true in a lot of parts of life. So, does the whole, feedback component when you start looking at root cause, what is the issue associated with the experience failure? 80% of it is systemic related. The company owns it. It's something associated with a process or procedure or product or, things like that. It's not on the agent's shoulders. In fact, we also found that a good hunk of, and it varied, but it was right around that 10% average where part of it was the customer issue. There was a dysfunctional customer.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have those.
Yeah, it's true. The other part of it as well is talking about, have you ever been contacted as a result of your feedback? I feel bad for the companies who do actually do stuff with the feedback, and they do reach out to customers and they do talk to them about their scores and the things that they've written, because 99 companies out of 100 will not, that's not a real stat, so don't at me. It's 99 out of 100 will not do that. But of course, as customers, we're being trained by our interactions every day with feedback surveys that doing customer feedback doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't change anything. Because even if you are that one company that does change things, if I look at the entirety of my experience with feedback surveys, nothing changes. However, that could almost be a little bit of a red herring there, because you might be going, well, actually, no, James, I think a lot of companies do change things because of the feedback. But if you don't tell me about that, if I don't know about that, then it may as well have never happened. So one of the ideas that I'm playing with at the moment is this idea of a progress pod, patent pending. That's the name for it now. If no one else can have it, it's not really patent pending. But I'm thinking, if you are going to be improving an experience or a process or something, why can't we go back over the last X amount of time and say, you know what, in feedback, who has mentioned this thing? And then you put them together in a little progress pod and you reach out to them and say, look, you gave us feedback on this thing. We're now trying to improve that. Do you want to be involved? Do you want to be kept up to date on how it's happening? Just to let customers know that, because the thing is, a lot of it is lip service. Even the companies that do get back in touch afterwards, they go, thank you for giving us the feedback. That's really going to help us improve in the future. We value you as a customer. We're sorry the experience, but then still nothing ever changes. This is a real tangible way of letting customers know that you're actually hearing them and actually doing stuff with the feedback that they are taking their own time to give you. So I think that is one of the questions you were going to ask. So I've sort of got in front of it. Is
yes, you did. How do we make them suck less, right? I mean, and you started going into
one way. It's like, and again, even if it is a boring survey, even if it is irrelevant and stupid, if you can then do that bit, just take that extra little bit of effort to reach back out to those customers and say, look, lots of people have mentioned this. You're not on your own. We are improving it. Do you want to be kept up to date? They could say, no, I don't want to be kept up to date. That's fine. But at least they've been asked. But you're going to get a group of people that are going to be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I want to know what's going on. And then when you've got gate reviews or you've got specific times in the program that you're running through, you go, you know what, let's give an update to the customers, let's let them know what we're doing. I think that would be a really cool way to start training your customers to know that maybe other companies aren't going to do this, but you are going to do it, because that's one of the big things as well. Response rates, they're dropping and dropping and dropping because we're getting feedback fatigue, because every single company that is doing customer feedback thinks they are the first company to, like, they've invented fire. They think this is genius. We're going to be the only people in the world doing this. What they don't realize is that every single interaction with every single company, every single day, we are being bombarded with requests for feedback. So if you want to increase your response rates, you need to stand out. You need to do things a little bit differently. You need to be the one that people spend their time to actually fill in these surveys. And the thing is, there's no reason we can't make them fun and funky and, you know, entertaining and dynamic. There's no reason that we can't do that. It's just, it almost seems like a tick box exercise or a check box for the Americans, for most companies. It's a thing we got to do. We'll just do a bland, you know, just simple text thing. We'll send it out. We'll send it to 2 million customers. We'll get 10,000. Hang on. Am I still there?
Never there.
I'm back. We'll get 10,000 respondents, which is what, like 5%? Is that?
Well, I think you know, I think this is where the whole automating of surveys can have, you know, the backlash and the backfire impact. And that's, you know, really what you're talking about is, if you're going to look at creating, you know, an experience that is, you want to retain customers with, you do have to stand out and do something different. It's not just an automated function just because your system or systems will enable it.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, it's like, so you send out 2 million, you get 10,000 respondents, which is that like I'm not very good at maths. Is that 0.5%?
Man, you're gonna have to make me get out the calculator too. I can't do it that fast. My wife's the accountant, not me. 1%
of a million is 10,000. So 10,000 of, yeah, that's 0.5%. I think someone will fact check me, get Snopes on it, fact check me on that. But yeah, but you're looking at the 10,000, go, wow, 10,000 people, that's a lot. And don't get me wrong, it is a lot of people, but 0.5% of your entire customer base, that's shocking. And then you're there making massive business decisions based on the feedback of very specific types of people, because there are only specific types of people that do feedback regularly. There's 4 types of people that do feedback. Do you want to know what they are?
Yes, we do.
Right. So you got the serial feedbacker. It's like a hobby for them. Okay, they love doing feedback surveys. Very tiny percentage of the overall population. Do you know anyone like that?
Yes, I do.
Are you one of the people that does that? Are you?
I am not.
Well, okay, good. The reason I check is because they're usually weird. You've got the extreme feedbackers. So if there's something that is extremely good or extremely bad, they will do the feedback. That's the majority of people. Most people, that's the only time they ever do. Nobody ever goes and has an average experience and goes, I can't wait for that feedback survey.
Right.
It doesn't happen. You've got the incentive feedbackers. So they're the people that, if you could win an iPad or a trip to Jamaica or something, they will do the feedback. That causes its own problems in and of itself, because who's going to win? Whether this is true or not, but in the customer's minds, who's going to win? The person that says, I hate this company and you always get everything wrong and your staff are rude, or the one that goes, I love this company, me and my family frequent these premises. It's always going to, in the minds, it's always going to be the good review. And then you've got everyone else, like us, like me, the people that very rarely ever do it. And that is because we've been trained time and time again that there's kind of no point, because nothing gets done with it. And that's a perception, and it doesn't matter if it's true or not, because perception is reality. So I think we can take some steps to get more people, more voices heard in our customer feedback. And the more customers you can get to do it, the better your data is going to be. The better your data is, the better the decisions you're going to make. So it seems like one big rant about customer feedback, but realistically, there are some solid business reasons why improving your feedback surveys should be a priority.
Okay, so then can you summarize and give us like the top 3 tips that are really going to help us to make sure that our customer feedback surveys don't suck?
But don't make them boring, don't make them irrelevant, and don't make them stupid. But what the one tip I will say is that kind of combines all of these. Take the survey yourself. before you send it out to it, take it yourself, get your team to take it, get colleagues to take it, and ask yourself the questions while you're doing it. Is it boring? Okay. Is it stupid? Are we asking stupid questions that just don't make any sense? Is it irrelevant? Are we asking things that we kind of already know ourselves? Is it even going to be relevant to that customer? Because that's the thing, they're very rarely personalized. They're most of the time just blanket ones that get sent out. So take it yourself, get your teams to take it, get the wider organization to take it, and scrutinize it with a critical view. Is it boring? Is it stupid? Is it irrelevant?
James Dodkins, always a good, exciting conversation. And I would also add to your list, make sure you get qualitative information so you understand why they rated the experience the way they did. Without a doubt. James Dodkins, how do the CX Quick Tip listeners get in touch with you?
Drop me an email at jd@pega.com or find me on LinkedIn.
James Dodkins, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you.